welcome to the Heart of Business podcast, sponsored by International Facilitators Organization. I'm your host, Mo Fatalbab. Today, our guest is Rana El Kaliouby, PhD and co-founder and general partner at BlueTip Ventures. Welcome, Rana.
Thank you for having me, Mo. Good to see you again.
Great to see you and great to have you with us. I've been wanting to tell your story from the day we met.
I'm glad we're doing it. I'm excited.
Thank you. So I'd love to start with your career journey. You're a serial entrepreneur. You've had some great successes. Maybe tell us a bit about that so the audience can get to know you professionally a little bit.
Yeah, well, we share one thing. We're both Egyptian American. I grew up in Egypt and around the Middle East, studied computer science as an undergraduate, did my PhD at Cambridge University. And I was really like taking the academic track. That was the vision or the goal, really. Ended up at MIT as a postdoc and caught the entrepreneurial bug. So within a couple of years at MIT, I started my company Affectiva. We were on this mission to build artificial emotional intelligence, like basically building emotion AI, getting our computers to recognize our emotional states. And there's a whole range of applications, everything from helping autistic kids to making our cars safer. Anyway, I ended up selling the company 3 years ago now, which is crazy. It feels like yesterday, but it also feels like it's been a long time. And I've been spending my time investing in AI startups and helping founders on their journeys, building AI companies.
Amazing. So what gave you the inspiration to be an entrepreneur in the first place?
Honestly, it was not at all on my radar. I grew up in a family where, nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. So it wasn't really at all something I thought about. When I got to MIT, I remember this one meeting in December of 2008. We were getting so much interest in the technology. Like basically I was at the MIT Media Lab and we had like a lot of the Fortune 500s were sponsors of the lab. And twice a year they would come to this big event and we would show the technology. It was demo or die. You had to like show the actual technology in action. And after that, they kind of wanted to use and buy the technology. And so this MIT professor I worked with, Professor Rosalind Picard and myself, we scheduled a meeting with the Media Lab director at the time at MIT. And we were like, we need some more PhD students because all these companies want our technology. And he sat back and he was like, that is not a research challenge. That's a commercialization opportunity. You guys ought to start a company. And my knee-jerk reaction was, wait a second, I'm about to apply to become faculty at MIT. Like, what are you talking about? But then I thought about it. And for me, it was this amazing opportunity to bring something I care deeply about and scale it to the rest of the world. And that was the impetus for spinning out of MIT and kind of leaving my academic hat behind and becoming a CEO and founder. It wasn't easy, it was not an easy journey for sure. But
did you raise money or did you bootstrap it? Tell us how you actually got started.
Yeah, Roz and I put a little bit of our personal money in, but we basically were venture backed. At some point, we had Kleiner Perkins and Mary Meeker was on our board. But can I share a story?
Yeah.
Okay. So our very early on, we were being, my background is I'm a computer scientist, right? And so this was my first foray into business. And one of the investors who was courting us sent us an email, like just a one-liner. And he said, send me your BS. And I literally sat there and I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. The only BS I know, you can't like package in an email. And so we went to our board of advisors. MIT is really good with that. Like they assign you a board of like serial entrepreneurs and like really, domain experts. And I was like, what the heck is a BS? And it's of course a balance sheet.
Of course. Awesome.
But that was the learning curve I was on.
Beautiful. And then you said it was something you deeply cared about. So what you deeply cared about, was it the technology or was it the audiences that you helped? You named people with disabilities and something else, I think.
Yeah, the automotive industry. Well, this is still true today, which is kind of wild. When we first started in this space, a lot of the emphasis on technology and AI in particular is on what I call the IQ of the technology, the cognitive intelligence, like how smart it is, right? But nobody's really thinking about the emotional and social abilities of these technologies, which is so important because we're using them as AI coaches and AI friends, and we're deferring to a lot of decision making to these tools, but we're not taking a human-centered approach to think about it. So my vision is marrying IQ and EQ in AI, like bringing emotional intelligence to AI. So that's kind of one piece of it, and I'm still very passionate about that. But the audiences, to your point too, there's a company we're partnered with called Brainpower, and they focus on bringing this technology to individuals on the autism spectrum. There's a lot of mental health use cases of this technology. I'm on a board of a company called Videra Health, and they have this video app, and through an interview with a person, they can detect telltale signs of depression, anxiety, even suicidal intent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the automotive use case. So if you're driving a car and you're distracted while driving, or you're kind of falling asleep because you're jet lagged, the car can detect that and intervene. So lots of applications.
That is amazing. So you sold the first company, and now you are invested in 50 different AI startups. Is that correct?
That is correct. So when I exited Affectiva, and it was hard, a lot of my personal identity was tied to the company. So honestly, the first, I'd say 8 months were kind of, I was going through an identity crisis. Like, who am I if I'm not the CEO of Affectiva? But I'm very passionate about innovation in the AI space. And this was 2021, 2022. So it was right when ChatGPT launched, and it sparked this. I've been doing AI for many, many years, but obviously this was like a kind of a tipping point. So I was investing in all these AI companies, supporting these AI founders on their journeys. A lot of them are first-time founders. Many of them are spinning out of academia like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so bringing empathy and shared. I mean, we're both members of the YPO, like Young Presidents Organization. And you're taught never to give advice, but to share your experience, which I found to be valuable.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So clearly you have joined a forum that we also know as a peer group. And I'm wondering if you can just tell us a bit about how it has benefited you.
Oh my God. Well, my first forum meeting was April of 2021. No, April of 2020. That was COVID year. Yeah, COVID had just hit, and we were about to lay off. We were about to do a layoff. And I remember thinking, I'm going to hop on a call with a virtual call, because nobody was meeting in person, with all these strangers. And I'm going to talk about our layoff. Like, how's that possible? And as you know, YPO scales trust like no other organization. And within the first 30 minutes, we were all talking very intimately about challenges professionally and personally. And I just got a lot of support through these early days, but also through my exit. Because some of my other forum members had gone through an exit themselves, and they were able to share their experiences and help me honestly manage my mental state through it all. So that was really helpful. And then finally, I launched a new YPO chapter last year, YPO Boston, very much focused on tech innovation in the Boston area, and a lot of like VC-backed entrepreneurs. And just this past week, we had we're a small chapter. We're about 30 people, so we have only a couple of forums in the chapter. And I was sitting in our forum meeting, and one of our members, who's very new to YPO and just extremely stressed out and just maxed out in general, and he had this sigh of relief. And he was like, this is the only space I can talk about any of this stuff. And he kind of expressed his gratitude. And I was like, yes, this is why I started a new chapter. This is why we need more people to be in YPO. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So go ahead, please.
I was going to ask you, because you've been in YPO for a long, long time. And you've brought this trust and vulnerability to a lot of spaces in YPO as well, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I joined my forum in 1991. It was an EO forum, and we're still together. And
that's amazing.
Oh my God, they've just been incredible people, and it's been nothing short of life-changing, as you know.
Yeah.
But YPO has been a client since 1999. I've been doing
Wow.
YPO forum work since 1999. It's been quite a journey, and I met amazing people and lots of great places. It's just been, but it's been, it's food for the soul more than anything. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
so gratifying to meet people in this very intimate space. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So knowing the journey of an entrepreneur, I know that it's not just up and meteoric all the way through. There are lots of pitfalls and
Yeah.
and challenges, and so I'd be curious if you'd be able to share one or two of your difficult moments and how you overcame them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember, um, yeah, there's definitely a lot, a lot, but just to highlight a few. So when we started the company, one of our first investors said, you need to hire a seasoned CEO to run the company. And so my role was CTO, and we hired, this guy who ran the company for a number of years, and then he decided to leave. So the board were like, okay, who's going to be the next CEO? We think it should be Rana. It's her technology. Um, and I remember going back home and thinking, I'm too scared. I've never been CEO before. I don't want to fail. So I came back the next day and told the board, I can't do it. Now, our head of sales at the time, who had also never been CEO, and he had only been at the company for just over a year, he was like, I'll be the CEO. So he took the job. um, and fast forward, a couple of years, I was giving a TED talk and flying back and on playing Wi-Fi. I was like, I wonder what is the actual role of a CEO? And I Googled it and I started building a bulleted list. And as I was typing it out, I realized I was doing the job. So I went back to him and, we had a conversation. We took it to the board. It was a unanimous vote to bring me in as CEO. And I just, that story stuck with me because in a way I was my own biggest obstacle. And the minute I was able to change my mindset and believe that I can do it, and actually with the help of a few of my mentors, right? They helped me actually visualize they were like, okay, imagine you're the CEO walking into the office. Like, what would you do? Or what would you say? Right. And it made it more real.
Yeah.
And so I always just remember this story that I can be my own biggest Debbie Downer. And and founders can not just founders really, but sometimes we can be really tough on ourselves and kind of unkind.
Yeah.
So I try to remember that as I
Yeah.
embark on new adventures.
I so relate to that. I think that, for me, it's about, am I doing my best? What else
Mm.
can I do? What else should I do? And so it's never enough in a sense.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
rest on yesterday's success. Well, what about the rest of my life? It's,
Yeah. I think about that a lot because I'm starting a new venture fund and I'm so excited about it. Like I really believe in the mission that we're on to build these, basically make human-centric AI the gold standard for building AI companies. But it's a new endeavor. And, I'm raising money for the fund and some investors say yes. And, like Reid Hoffman, but some say no. And man, it's tough. The minute somebody says no, like this conversation in my head starts like, oh yeah, of course. Like you're never going to do this. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. I'm like,
I think it's an important mission. Let's talk more about that. So human-centric AI. I think I know what it means, but I want to hear it.
yeah. Well, so we're in this unprecedented time of AI innovation, and we all, I guess, recognize that AI is offering or presenting this massive economic opportunity.
Mm.
But and it's an and, right? It's offering this massive economic opportunity and the potential to tackle some of humanity's biggest challenges. And so that's the intersection that I'm really focused on. Like, how can we back AI startups that are building AI that's in service of humanity, that's helping augment our abilities, not replace us, not take over the world, right? And so for us, that means AI that's good for you, good for the planet, is ethical. We're very interested in how can we harness AI for increased health span for health and wellness and democratizing access to health for democratizing access to education. As I said, I come from a part of the world where not everybody has access to the education I had, but I think AI can really change that. And of course, sustainable living. How can we use AI to reimagine food systems, to mitigate climate events, to build AI governance and responsible AI? So I believe you can do good and do well. And that's what our fund is focused on.
I love that. What do you say to the people that are afraid of AI, that are afraid AI is going to take over and is going to run our lives and take us into oblivion?
I like to say that I am an optimistic pragmatist. So I do recognize I'm not one of these people who just doesn't see the downsides of AI. I do think it is dangerous. And we've already seen implications of AI hallucination and disinformation and deep fakes, even in this election cycle in the United States. There's definitely nefarious uses of AI. But we choose to build these AI tools don't just happen. There are humans who are building these technologies, and we as a society should be really focused on the positive and unlocking human potential with AI. And so my advice, I actually just launched a podcast called Pioneers of AI, and we try to highlight some of the amazing use cases and potential, but also we talk very openly about the dangers of AI and how do you guard against them as a consumer? Both as a consumer, but also maybe as a business owner who's bringing in these technologies, what questions should you be asking? If you're going to use a new tool, how do you poke holes at it to make sure that it's safe for our kids? As a parent, how do I make sure my kids are both AI literate but are using it safely? So there's so many questions to be asking. Yeah.
So let's talk about the companies, your portfolio companies. Of those companies, tell us maybe a couple that you're super excited about that are offering something that most of us maybe haven't heard of.
Oh, let me see. It's hard to your portfolio companies are like your kids, so you don't have favorites.
How do you pick
I'll highlight a few. One is called Happy Pillar, and they use conversational AI for mental health support for families. So imagine it's basically a 5-minute play therapy session between a parent and a kid, and your phone is sitting there listening into the conversation and then coaching the parent on how to praise their kids, how to be a better listener. Sometimes a lot of us parents are distracted when our kids are, my son always calls me out on that. He's like, Mom, you're not even listening.
Mom, you're texting.
You're texting, or you're not paying attention, you're not present. And so the app will kind of give feedback to the parents so that they are, that they're more present and more a more healthy relationship with their kids. So that's one. I love what they're doing. They're, again, democratizing access to mental health care, which not everybody has access to an amazing clinician or a play therapist and whatnot. So I love what they're doing. Another one is called Synth Pop, also in the healthcare space, but they are they're like in the back office of healthcare operations. So they have voice AI agents. And the agent is actually the CEO's voice. Yeah. So they trained they cloned his voice basically. And this AI agent will call like Blue Cross Blue Shield to figure out what kind of insurance you're eligible for as a patient. And it's all automated. So they're kind of really increasing the efficiency of these healthcare practices and hospitals. So I'm excited about that too.
I love it. What about looking ahead? What kinds of things do you think AI is going to help us do that we can't even imagine at this very moment? I see you as looking into the crystal ball that none of us have access to.
Ooh, I really do think of AI as an intelligence like co-partner or a thought partner. And we've already seen that with a lot of the chatbots. But it's going to be more powerful when we move from chatbots to agents, So agents that can do stuff on your behalf. Like imagine if I can delegate to my agent to like make a medical appointment for me and my family, or
Love that. Oh my God.
right, right.
Yes. Go to the DMV for me because it's so slow. Yes.
Exactly. And I think we'll get to that fairly soon. Like this idea of partnering with a number of AI agents. I think it's going to be a team of AI agents that can act on your behalf. And I think that at the consumer level, that can be quite powerful, but also at the enterprise level, that's going to be powerful as well.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right. So Rana, favorite book?
Ooh, Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits is a good one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do habit stacking?
We do. I say we because my son and I love this book. He's 15 and we've read it together. We've gifted it to many, many people. I think the biggest takeaway actually I have from this book is your environment really matters, right? Like if we used to have cookies in our kitchen kind of, island just hanging there. And now we have like healthier fruits, healthier snacks. So, so anyway, I think a lot about what environment and what systems do you put in place that are conducive to building and keeping healthy habits.
Love it. Who is one person who's had a big impact on you and how?
I think it's my mom, honestly. She was one of the first computer programmers in the Middle East, in Cairo. Actually, that's how she met my dad, because he taught her COBOL, which is this obsolete programming language. And she was a working woman, most of her career. And but she always told us, I have two younger sisters, and she really prioritized our education. And she always said, you guys can, you girls can do anything you want. And she really like solidified that message in our brains and with unconditional love. And I try to always remember that as I parent my kids.
Yeah, love it. What advice would you give to an AI entrepreneur starting up the first AI company?
Ooh. There's like, can I do two?
Yes.
Okay. One is very pragmatic. Make sure you have a competitive moat and think a few steps ahead, right? You don't want to build something that ChatGPT or OpenAI is going to release, next year. Like you want to like look ahead and make sure you have this competitive moat. Often it's in your data. So really invest in having a unique data set that you can access. And then just generally, like as a founder, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. So invest in your self-care and kind of believe in yourself. Like don't listen to that Debbie Downer voice that I have that's in your head.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And lastly, and most importantly, if somebody wants to find you to invest in your new venture, tell us how they should look for you.
Oh, I love that. Well, email me at rana@bluetulip.vc, but also I am available on social media. I try to get back to people on LinkedIn and other platforms and DMs, but also subscribe to my podcast, Pioneers of AI, and let me know who you'd want me to interview. And also I'm very open to feedback.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Rana, thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And I know that many people will learn much from this show. You can follow the Heart of Business podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please remember that your reviews have a real impact on the podcast visibility. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a review. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.